It goes like this. Everybody, everybody, you got that? Yeah, you got that. Everybody, 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 everywhere with glory found. Okay, can you handle it? All right. We are Vote Common Good. This is one of our Vote Common Good songs. We're glad to have you singing along with us. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere with glory bound. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere with glory bound. How you feel about that? Okay, good. We're going to try one more time. I'm going to let you handle the everybody's. You ready? Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on, a road to go down, somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere with glory found. Everybody's got a sidewalk to walk on. Everybody's got a road to go down. Everybody's got somewhere to get to. Everybody, everywhere with glory bound. Now everybody, everywhere with glory bound. Everybody, everywhere with glory bound.
Oh, I'll tell you, Hapeville, Georgia, we've been waiting to get here. Now, we've been driving this little bus of ours around this country since January 2nd. We pulled this little orange beauty up outside the White House on January 2nd. Said to the current inhabitant, time is coming, and that time for you to get ready to pack up and move on out come January 20th, 2021, because you're going to get an eviction notice come November 3rd. So we're going to be driving that bus back outside the White House on November 3rd. And we thought between January 2nd and November 3rd, we'd pull that little baby up here in the parking lot of the Village Church in Hapeville. Now, friends, we wanted to do this way back in March. We were supposed to be here on the 17th of March, but because of the COVID, we couldn't pull up our bus here. We've been waiting around watching the president dither and daddle and do nothing about COVID. But we made sure that we were going to come back, and we got back on the road to be right here with you good people of Hapeville. So we're really glad to see you, and could we get a little round of applause from you? Thank you much. Now, friends, the reason we've been driving around this country and talking to people in parking lots from Minnesota to Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Ohio and North Carolina, we were just down in Florida, because we consider these to be swing states. Now, friends, I got to tell you, we didn't know, we didn't believe, I'll admit to you, we did not believe that Georgia would become a swing state. But come to find out, there's a bunch of swingers in Georgia, friends, and we're glad to be here with y'all, because it looks like not only are we going to see a change in the president come from Georgia, but we're going to see a change in some senators, and we're going to be sending a message to your current governor that at some point his time is coming to be moving on too, if you know what I'm saying, Mr. Latham. Now, the reason we've been doing this and our faith, hope, and love for a change on election day to our friends is because we've been hearing some things that don't sit so well with our souls. Now, I'm going to have to quote the president, and we like to run a family-friendly event, so I have to be careful because the man can get a little blue, so we're going to try to keep this safe for the children and people of sensitive ears. But we've been hearing things that don't sit so well with us, friends, like, if you're truly a Christian, you have to vote for a Republican, and we're here to remind you that just ain't so. Can I get an amen? We've been hearing people tell you that all the news is fake, but we're here to remind you of the news that is good, and part of that good news is that people of faith are going to rise up on Election Day. We've been hearing people say, oh, America first is all you need to worry about, and we're here to remind you to seek first the kingdom of God and care for the least of these. We've been hearing people say, as the candidate for presidency of the United States, I'd like to punch him in the face. And we're here to remind you of Jesus' teaching to turn the other cheek. And when we turn the other cheek, we're going to turn it right away from that voting booth as we cast our ballot for Joe Biden on Election Day. And we've been hearing people say, all you have to worry about is the Supreme Court. And we're here to remind you that you could gain the whole world and lose your very soul, Republican Party. You're hearing people say, close down those borders and keep out the little children, but we're here to remind you of Jesus' teaching to welcome the little children and care for those who are the least of these in this country. You've heard him say, I could do anything and not lose any supporters, even shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. But we're here to remind him that you live by that sword, you're going to die by that sword, and we know of thousands of people around this country who have said, yes, sir, you have lost our support. You've even heard him say, the only thing you need to worry about is your 501k and a tax break, and we're here to remind you that you can't serve two masters. Friends, you have heard people say that if you're a Christian, the thing you need to care about is the Second Amendment, and we're here to remind you of the Second Commandment, which is to love your neighbor and to love the least of these as you love yourself, right? You have heard him even say, well, 200,000 deaths, it is what it is. But we're here to remind you to bind up those who are the brokenhearted and to mourn with those who mourn. You have heard him say, let's build a wall and separate children from their parents to send a message. And we're here to remind you that which God has brought together, no one should ever separate. You've even heard people say, keep quiet about your faith. It doesn't belong in the political arena. And we're here to remind you to let your little light shine wherever you can and every single day on November 3rd and beyond. Now, friends, I got to tell you, we're not here to convince anybody that Donald Trump is unfit for office. We could spend all night talking about his denials, his ditherings, and his doing nothing. We could tell you about how he's unfit for office, he's a bad businessman and a worse president. We could spend all of our time telling you about his crassness and his corruption and his consorting with people who want to work against this country. We could remind you of kids in cages. We could tell you about soldiers with targets on their back. We could remind you of the corrupt leaders that he's tried to bribe. We could remind you of all of his cohorts that are now spending time in jail. But friends, we don't have to convince you that Donald Trump is unfit for office. The man is like a self-cleaning oven. He does all the work for you. We don't have to convince you of any of that. Because we are not here, friends, to tell you how bad he is. We're here to remind you how good you are, right? And your goodness is going to come out on Election Day because you are people who know what right from wrong, you know good from wrong, and you know how to show up on Election Day. So, friends, I want to tell you, we like to call this a bipartisan event. Some people accuse us of it being a Biden partisan event, but you'll understand why. And that's because we're asking everyone, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Libertarians, Green Party members, anarchists. We want everybody to join us in stopping Donald Trump on Election Day. So this is a bipartisan event because this isn't just about Republicans and Democrats. This is about people who care about the goodness of this country and those who want to tear it down. Now, I also need to make one other confession, and that is that I'm a pastor. I'm a pastor from Minnesota. And as a pastor and as a Christian, I truly believe that every person is a beloved child of God. Everyone here, look around at all the children of God. Everybody's a child of God. Everybody's the light of the world, the salt of the earth. Even Donald Trump. Sure, Donald Trump is the light of the world, but friends, not every light of the world should be the President of the United States, and this man should take his dim little light and get it out of the Oval Office and stop bothering the good people of this country and go on doing something else. So we're not here to take this personal with Donald Trump. We're here to remind you that there's a social reordering underway, that there's a racial reckoning that needs to happen in this country, and that we're going to bring that about in a political correction. Now, friends, we're going to sing a little tonight. We're going to have a little bit of fun. We're also here to recruit you. So settle in. We got an hour of a rocket ship. This is our friend Dan Dietrich, right out of South Bend, Indiana, the second most famous politician supporting spokesman out of South Bend, Indiana, Dan Dietrich.
Hey, everybody. So glad to be here. Dr. King said no one is free until all of us are free. And that's why we're traveling around on this big bus. Because in the richest country on earth, there's so many people who are not free, so many people living in poverty, so many people worried about where their next meal is coming from. And we believe we're called to do something about that. This is called We'll All Be Free by William Matthews. There's a world at war, caught in suffering, silent casualties. Oh God, grant us peace. In these sleepless nights, I can hardly breathe. Despite brutality, I know that we'll be free. I know that we'll be free. So let the light keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All they've loved is us to see. We'll all be free. Let the light keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All they loved is us to see. We'll all be free. Yeah. In these will hold us here. Love will hold our hand, teach us to have no fear. So we lay our hate down to wash their feet. When we see our brother, oh, we'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love there's us to see. We'll all be free. Yes. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love there's us to see. We'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. And then there's a real easy call and response. I say free, you say free. Goes like this. We'll be free, 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 free. We'll all be free. We'll be free, 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 free. We'll all be free. Yes, we'll be free, free. We'll all be free. One more. We'll be free, free. We'll all be free. Yeah. Let the light keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see. We'll all be free. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see. We'll all be free. Yes, we'll all be free. Oh, we'll all be free. Thank you.
Dan Dietrich, you're going to hear a little more from Dan Dietrich as we get going. Now, friends, we're really glad to see you. And part of the reason why is because as we've been traveling around this country, you might not believe it, but a lot of people tell us no. Sometimes people see this little bus of ours with a message on the side and they honk at us. Sometimes, Cole tells us, drivers even cut us off. A guy threw a coffee cup at us. Sometimes we ask churches if we could have a meeting in their parking lot, and they say, we don't like talking about politics, so I'm sorry you can't be there. Sometimes we ask politicians if they'll join us, and they'll say, well, we're a little nervous about all the religions, so not sure we want to do it. We even got kicked out of a Goodwill parking lot in Sioux City, Iowa. If you can believe it, the Vote Common Good crowd getting kicked out of a Goodwill parking lot. So lots of times we hear no. Now, friends, we all know you can't stop in a world when you hear no, because there's also people who say yes. And do you know who said yes to us? Well, you all did. Look around. You're all a bunch of yes men and women. We love it. We love to see you. So glad that you're all here. I'll tell you else who said yes to us. And that's Pastor Ray right over there with the fancy hat. Ray, would you come up and tell these good people why you said yes to Vote Common Good and why we could be in your parking lot? So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Doug Padgett. I'm so honored to welcome this group to Hapeville. I saw Doug. Actually, Doug has been a hero of mine for a long time. I come out of a evangelical faith, and Doug was one of those guys that I began to read a long time ago that really stretched me in ways that I didn't know. And I finally got to meet him a couple of years ago at a festival, and I've been following him, and when I saw what he was doing with Common Good, it resonated with me. And I thought, the time is right. We do need to take a stand. And I said, would you please come to Hapeville? And so we set it up for January, February, and then this crazy COVID got in the way. And I was so thrilled when he reached out to me maybe a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, would you like us to come by? And I told him today, I said, I haven't even seen some of our church family I'm seeing for the first time in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. Thank you for being here. And Vote Common Good, I just want you to know something. I admire what you are doing so much. I watch everything that you're posting. I'm seeing the discussions you guys are having all across the country. And I really think something great is going to happen in this election. I believe this comes from a good place. I believe it comes from a heart that is on God. And as the pastor of the Village Church, one of the most diverse churches I've ever seen in the world, I am honored to welcome you. Thank you, Vote Common Good, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. And thank you for feeding us earlier. We really appreciate it. The food was so delicious. Y'all, my name is Genesis B. I'm the Poet Laureate of Vote Common Good. And thank you. Thanks. Thank you. I'm an activist and hip-hop artist from Biloxi, Mississippi. I know you're probably thinking, but where's your Southern twang? Where'd it go? Brooklyn took it from me. It took it away. But I represent Mississippi. I'm a daughter of Mississippi. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And for the last 5 years, my activism has revolved around removing the Confederate emblem from the Mississippi state flag. Yeah, so last 5 years I've been spreading national attention about this issue with my collaborators, doing immense grassroots effort to change this flag. And I'm so proud to announce that as of June 30th, 2020, Mississippi retired that flag after 120 years. That flag flew for 120 years, which means the struggle didn't start with me and my collaborators. My ancestors fought against that flag. My father fought against that flag. It was a long fight. And I say all this to let you all know that change is coming. And sometimes it's a slow change. It's almost like we take 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and it's hard to see when change is happening. But I bear witness from Mississippi that change is happening. And guess what? If it happens in Mississippi, it can happen all across the nation, all across the world. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of our nation. Police exoneration and mass incarceration. Black and brown bodies, a commodity. Mothers separated from babies, border policy. It's like the White House is painted in the Klan's ideology, and our leadership is exploiting white poverty. Keeping us separate and divided, gay versus straight, white versus black, based off of fear and far from the facts. See, I hail from a state called the mighty Mississippi. It's the land of unsolved murder mystery, y'all. I'm triggered by the trauma in my own family history. Cause my dad was only 5 when the Klan drive by, bust bullets into his house with 6 children inside. On the back of the truck, a Confederate flag flying high. And these are the truths that some choose to deny. See, Mississippi, like America, eats your child and mine. The white supremacist lie is a prison of their own design. They forfeited their humanity in order to deny mine. Because white supremacy is a lie, but some have accepted it. A Confederate curse they inherited. Bigotry is blinding, and their fear of the other has blocked their own blessings from their sisters and brothers. Outrage, fatigue, screaming, I can't breathe. From the top, it trickles down, from the judges to police. Because the illusion of freedom is far more dangerous than any jail cell or cramped cages. Yes, Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation, where cowards replace white sheets with fake avatars, repeating their parents' folklore, Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus. The history's whitewashed. Google black codes and bylaws. In the comment section, sound off, sound off. Lord, they sound off, don't they? They call me the N-word, the B-word, and the like. Well, call me whatever you like. I've been through worse in this fight, and the hatred in their words just proves that I'm right. Because Mississippi is a microcosm of a country that always needed me but never wanted me. My melanin and skin is a sin sentenced to build your economy? So pack the prisons, fill the quota, make us felons, never voters. Travel bans and deportation, killer cops, no resignations. Just federal indictments and mock trials. You see, my heart bleeds as the billboard reads, Make America White Again, as my favorite rapper concedes. Kanye. Making me question everything that I believe. But still, I love America because I have hope. Some choose to jump ship and some steer the boat. See, I know that love and humanity lives in the smile of every child, in the heart of every kid. So be brave enough to break the curse. We need you at the polls, out in droves, fighting against this bigot you oppose. Study law, run for office, make a call, write your Congress. Use your voice and choose a march. Ruth is gone, grab the torch. You can read a book, you can write a rap. Just speak with truth and deal with facts, please, because freedom and justice are under attack. Alt-right affiliation of Trump's administration, Confederate infiltration, neo-Nazi showing faces. just fueling the fear and the hatred while expanding their corporations. Do you see now how Mississippi is a microcosm of my nation? I'm Genesis B, y'all. Thank you.
My friend Joel Weir wrote this song about 15 years ago. 31 years, got a few friends I can trust. I've got a couple more, baby, but we don't talk that much. I've got a woman, thank God, she's the best I've ever seen. Well, she keeps me rolling like an 18-wheel machine, and I'm on a roll. Hey, America, see, I'm looking for a sign. Hey, America, just a little sign of life. See, I'm an Indiana boy with a heart that won't sit still. Yeah, my cup is running over, but I still ain't got my fill. So won't you pray for me, Mary, that I keep my spirit right? And can you help me, Jesus, when I wanna give up this fight? 'Cause I'm on a roll. I'm rolling on. I'm on a roll. Hey, America, see, I'm looking for a sign. Hey, America, just a little sign of life. Hey, America, see, we've been living by faith and not by sight. We've been driving through the mountains in the middle of the night. There's this rain coming down, but I think I see your light. Hey, America, hey, America, hey, America.
Thank you, Brandon. I love that song. Every time you play it. Thank you, Hapeville. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Village Church and Pastor, wherever you are. Thank you for the food. Hopefully I can get some later. I didn't get some before, but I heard it was really good. My name is Nick Brock, and I am from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Thank you. Grand Rapids, Michigan has historically been a stronghold for the Republican Party. And so from 1884 to 2004, the Republican Party won all but 3 election cycles. That's 120 years, or approximately 5 generations, of a particular voting pattern being passed down. My hometown is also well known for being a conservative Christian community. And by and large, what this has meant is that there has been a hyper-focused attention upon making theological statements creating confessions of faith, and practicing personal piety at the expense of doing justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly. So again, for generation upon generation since the late 1800s, a particular faith pattern has been passed down. And so it's from within this political and religious context where church buildings anchor nearly every church corner, street corner, and where Trump signs pepper the landscape, I have chosen to say no to the maintenance and the certitude and complacency of the status quo. So what this means for me is that I have chosen to say no to the politics of Trump and no to the re-election of Donald Trump. In turn, though, this has provided me new space to say yes to common good, and to say yes to vote common good, faith, hope, and love, because they have provided for me the context, space, vocabulary, and permission to re-examine and reimagine how faith in my Jesus intersects with my faith in politics. So then this new framework then, the politics of Jesus, if you will, pivots upon an understanding of a 5-letter, 2-syllable word, power. And let me briefly explain this. In 2016, Donald Trump was on the campaign trail in Sioux City, Iowa, one of the most conservative Christian communities in the nation, a community not unlike my own, and perhaps similar to yours. And while there, he addressed a crowd of curious and eager white evangelicals, and this is what he said. Christianity is under a tremendous siege, whether we want to talk about it or we don't want to talk about it. He then continued, Christians make up the overwhelming majority of the country, and yet we don't exert the power that we should have. Christianity will have power. And he concluded, if I am in the White House, you're going to have plenty of it. And I'm going to represent you very, very well. You don't need anybody else. Remember that. In effect, under the guise of becoming Christianity's new savior, Donald Trump wanted to cut a deal for political power with Christians and have them sign their name on the dotted line. And they did, to the tune of 81%. 81% of white evangelical voters and 60% of white Catholic voters. But the politics of Trump, Trumpism, a species of hysterical intolerance and oppression built on demagoguery, intimidation, and a cult of personality, sold us a bill of goods that was and continues to be a false, distorted, hijacked view of the Christian narrative for power. Please, yes, applause. For those of us who call ourselves Christian, then, we must remember very, very well who we represent, Jesus, and who we want to represent us, because as a body politic and the body of Christ, we have missed the mark, and it has been 4 years too long. In stark contrast to Trumpism, the politics of Jesus undermines the meaning of power at every turn, even when lynched upon a tree, crucified. Both tactics used as forms of ethnic intimidation to enforce law and order, while the oppressor literally stands back and stands by. This naked, sexually abused, brutalized, dehumanized, and non-white Jesus, suffocated upon a cross, whereby the words, "I can't breathe," embodied the crucifixion experience. And it is this very Jesus who was murdered under the heavy knee of a system that said, "Your life does not matter." You see, the way Jesus died 2,000 years ago at the hands of first century Rome is as relevant and subversive for us today in 21st century America. Are you picking up what I'm putting down here, friends? The politics of Jesus, where on earth as it is in heaven, is not just a short-form prayer to climb the rungs of the spiritual ladder, but it is also a public policy statement about how the space between heaven and earth becomes so razor thin that you would not be able to differentiate between the two. The Constitution and the framework of this goes like this: let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who was in the form of God and did not regard equality with God as something to be exploited, but emptied himself, taking the form of a slave and being found in human form. And being in this form, he humbled himself and became obedient, even to the point of death on a cross. And it is therefore God highly exalted him. Transformational power does not happen through the ascent of your ego. It does not happen through the ascent of your stock's value or the worth of your retirement plan. It does not happen through the ascent of your religious institution or your church denomination. And it most emphatically does not occur through the ascent of your political party. Donald Trump cannot save you. Joe Biden cannot save you. The way to transformational power that transcends and transforms the powers and principalities of this world, that crosses the divide, that gives new life to me, to you, and to us, begins in recognizing critical moments such as this one that call us to go beyond our own selfish needs for violence, dominance, and exploitation. So that resurrection becomes not just something that happened 2,000 years ago or something that will happen in the far-off future, but will happen here and now in our consistent reimagining. In other words, your kingdom come, your will be done. In closing then, Donald Trump is right. And I bet you didn't see that coming. Because Christianity will have power, and plenty of it. It's just that he and his enablers have yet to conclude that Christianity already possesses it, and has long before 2016. For in the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh, and we have seen Jesus, full of grace and truth. So friends, may you choose with your politics not to go right. And may you choose not to go left. But may you go deeper, deeper into the mind of Christ, who can do immeasurably more than all we could imagine because of his power within us. And may you seek faith, hope, and love with your vote, not until November 3rd, but in everything that you do. My name is Nick Brock. Peace be with you.
Thank you, Nick.
Well, I am also a Michigan boy. Grew up in Southwest Michigan, now South Bend, Indiana is my home. And like Nick, I was just deeply troubled when 81% of white evangelicals voted for a man that looks nothing like Jesus. Because I grew up in that world. I grew up in a beautiful church home, and I learned to take the words of Jesus seriously. Things like Matthew 25, what you do unto the least of these, you do unto me, Jesus said. And it's not so much that folks voted for him, it's the fact that in the 4 years since, the good Christian people, the larger-than-life voices that taught me about faith have continued to defend this man and his actions. And so I wrote this song. It's called Hymn for the 81%. And it's a call to those brothers and sisters. Hey, thank you. It's a call to those brothers and sisters in the church at large to come back home to the way of Jesus. I grew up in your churches, Sunday morning and evening service, melting tears at the foot of the rugged cross. You taught me every life is sacred, feed the hungry and clothe the naked. Learn from you the highest law is love. And I believed you when you said I should trust the words in red to guide my steps through a wicked world. I assumed you'd do the same, so imagine my dismay when I watched you lead the sheep straight to the wolves. You said to love the law, well, I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. Started putting kids in cages, ripping mothers from their babies, and I look to you to speak on their behalf. Oh, but all I heard was silence, or worse, you justified it, singing glory, hallelujah, raise the flag. See, your fear had turned to hatred, but you baptized it with language torn from the pages of the good book. You weaponized religion, and you wonder why I'm leaving to find Jesus on the wrong side of your walls. You said to love the lost, so I'm loving you now. You said to speak the truth, so I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. Come home, come home. You're better than this. You taught me better than this. Come home, come home. You're better than this. You taught me better than this. Come home. Better than this. softly and tenderly, Jesus is calling. Calling, oh children, come home. You said to love the lost, I'm trying to love you now. You said to speak the truth, that's why I'm calling you out. Why don't you live the words that you put in my mouth? May love overcome and justice roll down. May love overcome and justice roll down. Overcome and justice roll down. Thank you so much. I'm Daniel Dietrich. Thanks for being with us. Now my friend Mark.
Guys, let Dan hear it again. Let him know how much you appreciate what he just did for us. That song is amazing. I've told him that it's now not only my favorite hymn, but it is also my favorite song. I think it's going to be my life theme right now. It's just such an amazing song. Thank you for that, Dan. So I am Mark Sandlin. I'm a Presbyterian minister from North Carolina. I bring you greetings from my home church, Presbyterian Church of the Covenant. So when you look at the life, of Jesus, and the stories he told, like the Good Samaritan, or the more than 30 people that he healed, and pretty much any other part of his life, it's easy to see that well, faith, hope, and love were central to his identity. And I would offer to you that if you're a Christian, that faith, hope, and love ought to be central to your identity as well. Because you see, without those three, faith, hope, and love, which go hand in hand with the recognition of other people's basic human rights and dignity, without them, you can end up with folks who will fight to protect what they perceive to be their own personal rights without regard to the impact, the cost that doing so will have on others. Now, I suspect that, like me, you have been watching the news. And if you have, you know that is exactly what is the current reality for far too many people in America. A certain portion of our society who once considered themselves faith and family value voters, certainly don't show faith, hope, and love, particularly when it comes to basic human rights. So friends, can you tell me how is that a family values voter? How is that a faith voter? I'm serious. If you can tell me, please do, because I certainly can't understand it for myself. Now, we are here to get you fired up about actually being faith voters, specifically faith, hope, and love voters. We happen to believe that if you are a Christian, that these three things should be a central part of your identity. We also happen to believe that they should be a central part of your decision-making process when you go out to vote. You see, the lack of compassion that this administration not only inspires but encourages must be countered with love. Not with hate, not with bullying, and certainly not by voting for Trump. Because let me tell you, folks, Where there's smoke, there's fire, and Trump has done nothing but fan the flames of misogyny, fan the flames of racism, fan the flames of xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia, classism, white privilege, and supremacy. He's put too many of us, too many of our friends, and too many of our loved ones under fire. And sometimes all too literally under fire. He is a walking, talking five-alarm fire, friends. And to add fuel to the fire as he sets the nation ablaze, he heads out for a round of golf all too casually and is paid for by the very people who he's causing to go up in smoke. I'm telling you. Even his administration's spin factory can't make those things look like biblical hope and biblical love. So we want you to get fired up. When you vote, vote with your faith on your sleeve. Vote for hope. Vote for real love. We need this administration to go up in smoke. So vote. Vote that man out of the White House. But here's the thing, folks. Over the next 20 days leading up to what many are rightfully calling the most important election of our lifetimes, if faith, hope, and love, if those are really a central part of your identity, I know that voting just isn't going to be quite enough for you. It isn't. It isn't because your faith, hope, and love have you wanting to do whatever you can to ensure that more people see that voting for the current administration is simply not the compassionate thing to do. So I'm going to give you one simple thing that you can do. And that one simple thing is joining our Vote Common Good virtual phone banking team. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty excited about it, particularly because this Sunday, that phone bank will be calling my home state, North Carolina, a swing state just like Georgia. Specifically, we're going to be calling a bunch of young folks who are committed to environmental issues. And we still need a few callers. And you can make a difference by being one of those few callers. So just head right over to our tent back here, or text GOOD, G-O-O-D, to 66866, and you can sign up that way. Now, like I said, I'm an ordained minister, and we ministers love our Bible verses, so I would like to leave you with this one. A new commandment I give you, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you are to also love one another. And by this, people will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. So, get out the vote. Let hope, faith, and love lead you. Show your love by ensuring a new administration in 2021. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your willingness to listen. I'm the Reverend Mark Salmon, reminding you to wear a mask, wash your hands, love one another. Get out and vote.
Thank you, Mark. It's like the end of The Price is Right, and remember to have your pet spayed and neutered. Hey, I'm Doug Padgett again. We're so glad for you to be here. This is one of my favorite parts of our little afternoon get-togethers, because this is our Harvey Milk moment, because we're here to recruit you, friends. We want to take you with us. We don't want to just show up in a parking lot and fill you up with faith and hope and love you and leave you. We want to take you with us. Now, I say this every time, and sometimes in jest, but I got to tell you a little story about the people that have been up here. we say, hey, we want you to come with us. So Genesis B, who you heard earlier and you're going to hear in a moment, she came with us way back in 2018 in September up in Pennsylvania, was going to come with us for 2 events just in Pennsylvania, and then ended up staying with us for 30 days, and now has been traveling with us all year because she's been coming along with us. And then back in January of this year, we're driving around the country on this tour trying to get over here to Hapeville, and we get a message from someone that said, have you heard this song called Hymn for the 81%? And we're riding in the back of that bus right there, and we look it up and went on YouTube and saw that it had like 400,000 views. It now has more than 800,000 views, I think it is. And we saw this guy named Dan Dietrich wrote some song, so looked him up and sent him a message and said, hey, what you're talking about is what we're talking about. How'd you like to come along with us? Next thing you know, Dan's riding on the bus, and now he's here with us. And a couple of weeks back in September, we're in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Nick Brock, who you heard earlier, was our person that set up our event, just like Pastor Ray set up this event. And then Nick said, hey, I kind of like what you're doing. Do you mind if I come with you over to Detroit? And said, Detroit. Next thing you know, Nick is now living on the bus with us and traveling around the country with us. So I'm just telling you, look out, we're not kidding around. We're capturing up people and taking them with you. So there's a couple of ways you can go. You might be saying to yourself, hey, I'm not getting on the bus and going with you for the next 20 days to park that bus outside the White House. In fact, we're full on the bus now, but if you want to follow along, that's up to you. But we do want you in the tank with us, and here's what we mean. There are 4 things that get us around this country. 3 of them you can probably already guess. Faith, hope, and love. You know what the 4th is? Diesel. Diesel moves that big baby around the country, so we'd like to have you in the tank with us. Now you see what I'm saying. If you go over to that little participation tent there where you see the fine Raquel and Brady and others, we'd love for you to make a donation. Now, a donation for you can be $1, it can be $10, it can be $100, it can be $1,000, it can be $10,000. We'll take any amount of money that you're willing to contribute if you want to be part of this movement. And it's not just going to move this bus around the country. It also is going to send postcards, because we want you sending postcards. We're going to send you home, whether you make a contribution or not today, we're going to send you home with a packet of postcards. And inside there are 15 postcards that have a message on one side that are identified to a Christian voter and say, join me in stopping Donald Trump on Election Day. And then on the back, it's regular old postcard where you can write your own message. We're going to give you 15 mailing addresses of voters in Florida that we know are faith voters, and we want you to send from your mailbox to theirs and ask for them to join you in stopping Donald Trump on Election Day. So your contributions pay for that. Or we'd love to send you home with one of these yard signs to put out in your yard. Put it next to your Biden-Harris sign so you people know that you're not just voting for Biden-Harris, but you're also voting for faith over fear and hope over hate and love over lies. Because we need to stay more of a message than just what party we're a part of. We want to tell a message of what faith and hope and love that we're a part of. So we'd love to send you home with a hat or with a shirt because we want you to feel like you're part of a movement. Because friends, the starting line is on November 4th. Sure, we're going to solve a problem. We have a natural disaster taking place in the political part of this country, and it's going to pass on November 3rd. And then like every other natural disaster, all that cleanup has to begin, and there's a lot of work to be done, so we need you. We need you to join us, and we invite you to do so. Now, you're also going to see over at that table that there's a little sign that says, Bake America Great Again. Bake America Great Again is the Vote Common Good nationwide citizen-led bake sale to save the United States Post Office. On October 24th, we want you to set up a table and put baked goods on it and sell it for stamps and raise awareness to people all over the country that the Democrats and the Republicans need to come over to stop this administration from destroying the post office. So it is a publicity stunt that's going to get you a brownie or a piece of cake, and we need you to set up a bake sale. So go over there, get signed up before you leave here today, because we need you. We need you on the email list. You can text to this number. Look, if you haven't pulled out your phone yet and sent a text message, do so. We'd love for you to do it. The other thing your contribution is going to fund are these billboards that we have going up around the country. They have a quote of Jesus on one side, a quote of Donald Trump on the other. If you've yet to see our billboards, go to hiswordsmatter.org, and I promise you're going to love them. Any of those places you can make a contribution. We take Venmo, PayPal, cash, checks. We barter for beaver pelt, whatever you got. We'd love to have you in with us, because, friends, we're living in a time where we need everybody doing everything they can. When you live in a time of social disorder, you don't do nothing, you do something. And we'd love to have you join with us in doing something. Now, I come from Minnesota. And in Minnesota, we get snow. I know you all occasionally get a little snow here, and you get an ice storm, and you shut down your cities. But in Minnesota, we get snow that starts to pack up about this high. So deep that it's higher than the wheels of your car or your truck. And sometimes your car and your truck gets stuck in a rut. Now look, our country's been stuck in a rut. And we've been watching the polls, we've been doing some polls ourselves, and we know that in Minnesota, we've been pushing on that car. If you've ever pushed a car out of the snow, you know that you start to rock that car, and it goes forward, and it comes back. And as it starts to rock, people get behind, and at just the right time, they got to push that car. Sure, look, we're looking at the polls. It looks like Donald Trump's going to lose this election. But friends, just like a car rocking out of that ditch, rocking out of that rut, if everybody doesn't push at the end, that car is going to roll right back into that snow rut. And friends, we are not going to let this car roll back into that rut like it rolled back into that rut in October and November of 2016. Amen? We're not. We're going to push, and we're going to push this car out. So here's what we're going to ask from you. There are 19 days after today. We're going to ask you, you made an hour commitment to be here with us today. We're going to ask you to make an hour commitment every day for the next 19 days to do something, to ask someone to get out to vote, to join them. Be on our phone bank, as Mark mentioned, get on the postcard campaign, put up a sign, text message someone, send them a billboard. Please do, look, do it right now. Send a picture of this to a friend and say, I want to tell you about this event that I was at. If you've got a friend in Athens, tell them we're coming to Athens tomorrow. If you have a friend that lives nearby here and you want them to be part of this on Saturday, we're going to be in Atlanta on Saturday. Maybe you want to join us Friday afternoon, right at the post office over in East Point, where from noon until 5, we're going to encourage voters standing in line at that post office by singing them songs and giving them hot dogs and bringing them Cliff Bars and bringing them water bars. Join us in that. We're going to do everything we can. We need you doing everything we can. Now, we're all a little nutty. We've been driving around the country for, months at a time, so we've sort of lost perspective on what's a reasonable thing to do. But you find your own reasonable thing to do and lean in and do it. We're so glad to have you here. Now, I don't know if you saw that there's ice cream over here, but we've got another song for you. Genesis B is going to tell you a little truth, and then we're going to sing again, and we're going to have you make a love and politics pledge with us. But if you haven't gotten some ice cream yet, we'd love you to do that. Stick around here. We just got a little bit left to go in our program. And thanks so much for being with us.
Where is this justice? The justice we need. Tell me where is this justice that we all want to see? And when I marched in the street, then I began to see, and I saw that the justice we need is the justice that needs me. Where is the healing? Oh, the healing we need. Tell me where is the healing we all want to see? And when I turn on my TV, I see so much dis-ease. I see the healing we need is the healing that needs me. Tell me where is the peace that the peace we all want to see, don't you? Tell me where is the peace that we all know we need? And so I phoned an old friend. I said sorry for the grief. I said that the peace that we need is the peace that needs me.
Can you guys give another round of applause for Brandon? I've heard that song so many times and literally just got what it meant a second ago. Like literally, this is what being on a bus for months will do to you. It's like you're on autopilot. But you're saying that the peace we want to see, the justice, the healing, it's on us to do it. Did y'all get that the first time? Good. You're better than me. All right, so I have one last piece for y'all, and then we're going to close it down. This is one of the quieter crowds that we've been in. So I would like you to say on the count of 3, I am awake. 1, 2, 3. I am awake. 1, 2, 3. I am awake. 1, 2, 3. I am awake. Me too, friends, me too. Okay, so before I start this next piece, it's a pretty short piece. I have a question for y'all. And the question's not rhetorical. I would really appreciate an answer. There's no wrong answer. Don't be shy. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? If Trump disappeared today, what would America do? How's that again? Be joyful, celebrate. Anybody else? What would America do if you just looked on your screen right now, breaking news, Trump's gone, period. Another celebrate. Sigh of relief. All right, there's no wrong answer. Get ice cream, all right. This piece is called Trump the Symptom. If Trump disappeared today, what would America do? Would we still have all this Twitter commotion? Would America still worship money? Would we still pollute the oceans? Would we still imprison black men and shoot them down with no emotion? Would women still be the smartest in the room and still get passed up for promotions? Would we still do that, y'all? What would America do if Trump no longer exists? Would we still destroy our planet for profit? Would we still have private prisons, the new slave trade in auction? Would men still write laws dictating what women do with our bodies, stripping away anatomical autonomy? Would we still shame women who use sex as a commodity, but not shame men who buy sex in pornography? I said, would we still shame women who use sex as commodity, but not shame men who buy sex in pornography? Think about it. Would we still turn a blind eye to all this hypocrisy? What would America do if it was up to you? Would you finally purge law enforcement of white supremacist bigots? Would you finally grant equal rights to poor whites and immigrants? Would preachers still use the pulpit to pimp our communities? Would boys still be boys, raping and assaulting with impunity? Would we still ignore the killing of trans folks? Because this is where America stands, folks. To know what would America do, I ask, what has America done? Well, for one, we massacred our native populations, did that. From the blood of black slaves, we built the richest of nations. And we waged war before, cried wolf with terrorist threats. Do y'all remember weapons of mass destruction? Y'all remember that? It's crazy how quickly we forget. I've seen America burn crosses on the lawns of my father. I've seen America separate mothers and toddlers. I've seen Americans vote for men whose only moral is money, men who appeal to the sexism and racism of my beautiful Christian country. And here we are. We search for a savior to save us from the big orange goblin. Some magical Democrat that will solve all our nation's problems. But Trump is just a symptom of a money-hungry system that never had regard for our troops, no regard for the truth, no regard for the planet, and no regard for the youth. Trump was born into this, just like you and I. Trump is as American as apple pie. Sorry to break it down like that, but it's true. So I won't ask, what would America do? I'll ask, what has America done? In fact, I'll ask, what can America be if we step up in the days to come? Can America be one nation, under God, indivisible? Can true freedom and compassion be our core principles? A place where pharmaceutical riches does not result in more sickness, where corporations have constraint and cannot buy our politicians, where the money we use to wage war goes to healing Mother Earth or building houses for the poor. I don't know, it's just a crazy thought. A place where all synagogues are safe, where our Muslim brothers and sisters and siblings are looked upon with grace, where young girls can walk the streets without being harassed because young boys are taught to understand the traumatizing effect that that has. So what can America be, y'all? A place where someone who looks like me and loves like me can actually feel safe and free? Where black and brown women are not minimized and the image of us outside reflects the power of our insides, our potential, our resilience, our imagination, and our brilliance. My ancestors fought for me to have a voice. They fought for me to have a vote. So I talk my shit and I cast my ballot. I honor them by doing both. Yeah. Because they knew what America could be, but it starts with you and it starts with me. Because although he spews lies and his actions show cowardice, assigning that much power to any man will eventually render you powerless. That's right. So don't ask, what would America do? Ask, what can America be? And the answer to that question, my friends, is solely up to you and me. I'm Genesis B.
Thank you, Genesis B. As she said, we're going to end the night with this love and politics pledge that we do. And friends, I want to say the same thing to you that I said to a group of Proud Boys when we were in a bar in Florida. And that is, we're not here to ask you to vote for Joe Biden to be like me. I want you to vote for Joe Biden because he fits you. I want you to vote for Kamala Harris because she fits you. You determine what the common good is. I'll tell you what, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm going to be voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. There's no doubt at all. But you need to dig down deep, and you need to answer that question for yourself. And you need to then say to your neighbors and your friends this conviction that comes from you, wherever you find yourself. This is a time for truth-telling in this country, not only to figure out who we are, but to share who we are. So would you dig down deep and share that? And we think this Love and Politics Pledge will help you do that. The Love and Politics Pledge is this. It asks you to make 4 commitments to everybody who asks for your vote, anybody you lend the vote to. And that is that you will demand of every politician that they will comport themselves in a way consistent with love if they want to represent you. Now, we've got a candidate in the back running for Senate. He wants to meet you back by the table. He wants you to write his name in. You can walk right up to him and say, Ron, I need to know, Ron, will you comport yourself in a way consistent with love if you're going to represent me? We don't think it's too much to ask someone if they want to carry this public burden to act in a way of love. Secondly, that your commitment is that any politician who acts in a way of love, you will acknowledge it when they do. Thirdly, if they don't act in a way of love, you will call them out and demand for a change no matter what political party they come from. And the fourth commitment is you'll demand that politicians demand of other politicians that they act in a way of love. You know, it seems as if politics is the only industry that doesn't want to police itself, right? Demand that every politician look at another politician and doesn't simply say, well, I wouldn't tweet it that way, or I wouldn't say it that way. So the love and politics commitment from your side is to hold a politician accountable, congratulate them when they act in a way of love, demand that they change if they don't, and make sure they hold one another accountable. Then on the back of this little card that you've got, or what's written on this little banner over here, is a definition of love that we like a whole lot, and this is our call and response part of the night. So we'll invite you to stand up and to do a little call response with it. So it goes a little something like this. You're going to say the word love 13 times in a row. This comes out of the book of 1 Corinthians. Now, you might think you've only heard this at a wedding before. This isn't a wedding commitment, even though you're at a church and we're standing outside in a beautiful evening. This isn't about a ceremony of two people for one another. This is a commitment of how we think we should live our lives with one another. Now, I just want to ask you, we're going to read this. It's going to say, love is patient, love is kind, love. Just insert a politician's name in there. If you can read, Donald Trump is patient, Donald Trump is kind, then go ahead and vote for him. If you believe that Joe Biden fits that, then go ahead and vote for Joe Biden. If you believe nobody fits it, then call them all the standard of love. Would you say, you're going to say love over and over, and I'm going to read the rest of it. It goes a little something like this. Yeah, there you go. Dan's going to help you. Hey, Dan's right here. He's going to help you. We're going to turn his mic on. He's going to help you. So here we go.
Love
is patient.
Love.
He is kind.
Love.
Does not envy.
Love.
Does not boast.
Love.
He is not proud.
Love.
Does not dishonor others.
Love.
Now, friends, we're not making this up. This isn't like 2016, 2020 language. It's been around for 2,000 years. Back to it, Dan.
Love.
He's not self-seeking.
Love.
He's not easily angered.
Love.
Keeps no record of wrongs.
Love.
Does not delight in evil.
Love.
Rejoices with the truth.
Love.
Always protects.
Love.
Always trusts.
Love.
Always hopes.
Love.
Always perseveres. May we be people who find a little more love in our lives, a little more love in our world, a little more love in our families, and a little more love in our politics. Amen? Amen. Well, stick with us through the evening here. Hang out for a bit. Dan's going to serenade you. We'd love to see you at the table, and we'd love to see you eating some ice cream. Thanks for being with us.
Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break to the darkness. All that love is us to see. We'll all be free. Yeah. Let the light in, keep it shining. Let it break into the darkness. All that love is us to see. We'll all be free.